What do you think of that? So here we have it, guys, the Infinity Studio life-size Bruce Lee bust. It's not really a bust, it's more of a half a body, but awesome nonetheless. I unboxed this guy on Christmas Day with my family. If you guys want to check that out, you can check out our Christmas morning video. This thing is definitely impressive. So growing up as a kid in the 70s and 80s, this guy was an idol of mine. He was a superhero even before I knew what superheroes were. I watched all the movies, I played pretend fight with all my friends. Before Arnold, Stallone, Van Dame, it was this guy right here. And to have this piece here just filled a massive void in my collection. So let me give you guys a closer look at the dragon. In the box, we also get some goodies. We have our Infinity Studios white gloves. We also get a little booklet here. It tells you all the cool stuff you need to do to keep your statue in the best shape. The official distributors for Infinity Studio. We also get our certificate of authenticity. So it says they're making 500 of these. This is number 75, signed there by the concept artist, as well as the sculptor. The assembly was pretty simple. We have the base separate. Bruce's head and body are connected. We just key him into the base. We did have to add on his arms, which key in nicely. There are two little pins that we just have to insert in the appropriate slots to lock them in place. And then we just have to roll down his sleeves to cover up that seam. Add the dragon head on the front, yin-yang symbol on the back, and give him his nunchucks. So down here we have a wood-like base. I believe it's polystone that is just painted like wood. They did a really nice job with the wood grain here. We have these little scrolly embellishments down on the bottom, kind of give it a classy look. I believe they used the wood because in the big fight scene where he's wearing this yellow jumpsuit, he is fighting within this Asian pagoda. There's a lot of wood in the scenery, in the stairs that he has to climb up to advance to the next level. So that ties in nicely with that. Or it could be just a nod to the traditional martial arts studio. We've got a nice detailed dragon that circles all around the top of the base. Very inspired by Asian arts with all these little swirly cloud-like shapes. The head itself is very detailed. He's got these whiskers that kind of go out that look very fragile, which is probably why they didn't ship it all in one piece. On the back, we've got this little medallion. It's got the yin-yang symbol there in the middle with some Chinese lettering around the sides. Beneath the dragon, we have a little nameplate. It says Bruce Lee. I'm guessing that's his Chinese name written above that. The dragon is kind of reaching down with his claws, kind of protecting that nameplate. But a very cool, classy base. So he's got his very iconic yellow jumpsuit with black stripes. This, of course, was the outfit that he wears at the end of Game of Death, a movie that came out in 1978, which was 5 years after he passed away. And if you don't know the story, they actually took footage from a movie he was making prior to his death. They kind of just wrote a story around it. They hired a double to shoot the other scenes. When I was a kid, I really liked it, but looking back on it now, it's not the greatest movie. But the amazing fight scenes at the end that actually feature Bruce Lee is what everybody remembers from the movie anyway. He's got the jumpsuit very nicely tailored to his body. There's a little bit more room in some areas than others for his clothes to kind of tuck into. But if you play around with it, you can get it the way you like it. He's got a zipper that goes all the way down the back, so it makes it easily removable. That's how I was able to steam it. Underneath, he's actually got some sculpted muscles. You can see his abs, a well-defined chest. The silicone on him, just like on the Joker bust that I reviewed, is like a little section that kind of just keys into his shoulders. And his arms also are all silicone up until the part where you key him in. So a lot of times with these busts, everyone will just talk about the face, but we can't forget about some of these other important elements as well, like the body shape, the arms, the hands, the pose. I think Infinity Studios did an excellent job on all of the above. Just look at the palm here. We can see all the little creases in his hands, some bruised knuckles, some very nicely sculpted fingernails. He even has fingerprints. I don't believe there's any kind of internal skeleton in his fingers. They just kind of wiggle around. I think all the stability is right here in the palm that goes down his arm. And then over in his right hand, he's holding the nunchucks. You can see all the lines in that skin texture, some pores, the hair follicles. He's got on this little bracelet, and then we can see the veins running through his forearm over here as well. For the nunchucks, there is a little groove that's cut into the underside of his arm, and it kind of just wedges in there. Same with the hands. It's just held in place by friction. You can kind of just position it however you want by moving his fingers. And finally, we're gonna move up to the most important part for most collectors anyway, and that is the portrait. So I think Infinity Studios did an amazing job with the likeness on this piece. It's definitely the best likeness that I've ever seen on a Bruce Lee statue. Just wanted to point out a few things here. He's got the glass eyes, he's got the rooted hair, we've got hair in the eyelashes, in the eyebrows. We've even got some little stubble on his chin and cheeks. We can see all the little pores. He's got the very lean face. We even have a little scarring underneath his left eye. We've got the furrowed brow. So here he has his very 70s hairstyle, very fitting for this period. We can see his ear in here, although a lot of it is covered by his hair. This is pretty much how it came out of the box. I did kind of flatten it out a little bit and separated some of the hairs in front so it didn't look quite so boxy. I didn't use any product. I saw some pictures where they made his hair look a little bit more wet and sweaty looking, which is how he looked in the movie. But this looked pretty good as it was, so I didn't mess around with it anymore. I know some people had an issue with the likeness, and as I said in my countdown video, if you look at something long enough, you're gonna be able to find something. I mean, this is a statue, so you're always gonna be missing those subtle elements that make a living person alive. So I've been to a lot of the Madame Tussauds wax museums, where a lot of times they'll actually get the person into their studio, take molds of them, measure their facial features with calipers, and still the end result is far inferior to this. I'm guessing Infinity Studio only had 2D references in order to make this statue, and to me, that is incredible. The artistry that had to go into sculpting that face, creating this pose. Like anything, there's always room for improvement, but I think they did a fantastic job. I had this conversation when I was talking to some folks about the Heath Ledger Joker bust, and I was telling the person that with these life-size busts, you're always gonna have better angles than others. For me, I think the best angle is something like this right here, where he is sort of showing more of his right side of his face. Lighting and angles is going to play a huge part on how a piece is perceived. Here he's being pretty much blasted with the light in my studio, so we're not doing any kind of dramatic effect. Another thing that comes into play is the picture that people have in their mind about a person. So when I was watching Game of Death, I actually took still frames from the same scene, and as you can see, Bruce Lee looks different in every one of them. His hair is parted one way, in the next picture it's going the other way. One that looks a little bit more messy, and as a sculptor or artist, you're creating a single moment in time. That moment may look a little bit different than the next moment or the moment after that. There are some days I wake up and I look in the mirror and I don't think I look like myself. So to expect a statue to have the exact likeness of the image in your own head is probably very difficult to do. But I would say in most cases, if somebody saw this, they would know exactly who it was. And this statue looks 1,000 times more like Bruce Lee than the guy that played him in the movie. Just like the Wonder Woman, the hair under this bright lighting does have a little bit of a brown tinge. Now, I'm not an expert on Bruce Lee's hair color. It looked black to me, but I'm guessing maybe that's just the properties of the synthetic hair. But as we saw with the Wonder Woman, once you bring it into different lighting conditions, it drastically changes the color of the hair. So one thing I do want to mention is this piece is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. So the depth of the base is only about 13 inches deep. However, when you measure from the front of his hand to the rear nunchuck, you're looking at close to 40 inches. That is a lot of space to cover. So I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to put this guy. Obviously, you can't put him anywhere where his hand's gonna get in your way. The statue is about 30 inches tall. So right now, this statue looks pretty clean. During the fight scenes at the end of this movie, Bruce Lee was pretty battered up. His face was dirty. He had like black eye, marks on his face from getting punched and hit with nunchucks. That might also add to the likeness factor. Personally, I'd rather have a clean Bruce. So as you guys know, I'm not a big fan of fabric on my statues, but in the case of these life-size pieces, I think it's a must. Obviously, you want it to look as real as possible, and the fact that you can actually remove the clothes and put other clothes on is just a bonus. So if you get sick of the yellow jumpsuit here, or maybe you're not a fan of Game of Death, you can turn this into Bruce Lee of other eras. But for now, he stays in the yellow jumpsuit. A little nitpick here is you can actually see the little outline where the silicone meets the polystone. It is in the back, so I'm probably never gonna see it. They could have made it a little bit more flush, and that way the ridge is not visible. It could just be on mine. Luckily, it's not noticeable on the front where it matters. So if you're looking to add a Bruce Lee statue to your collection, I don't think you're gonna find anything better than this. If you're looking for something more perfect, it might be a long wait. Check out these other Bruce Lee sculptures out there. Some of these have been in museums where people actually pay admission to see them. I don't think any of these even come close to this piece right here. Here's one from Madame Tussauds with Bruce's daughter Shannon. It looks like she's really enjoying this piece. I'm pretty positive if she had the choice between this one and that one, she'd choose this guy. At the end of the day, it is a lot of money, so it's gonna be up to the individual collector whether or not this likeness is worth it. To me, it is. So that was my review on the Infinity Studio Bruce Lee. I love it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Should I pick up any more of these life-size busts? I don't really have a place to put it. I don't even have a place to put Bruce here. Who would you like to see a life-size bust of? I hope you guys had a very happy new year. Here's to a prosperous 2022. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.